What would you do if the person you trusted most shattered your heart just hours before you vowed to love them forever? For Eleanor, this wasn't a hypothetical. It was the gut-wrenching reality she faced on the morning of her wedding day, a day meant to be painted in joy but instead cloaked in betrayal. Eleanor stood in the bridal suite, her ivory gown pooling around her like a soft cloud. The mirror reflected a woman radiant with hope, her dark eyes sparkling with dreams of a shared future. She adjusted her veil, her fingers trembling with anticipation, when muffled voices drifted through the half-open window. It was James, her groom, his familiar laugh cutting through the morning air. Curious, she leaned closer, expecting to hear him gushing about their future. Instead, his words sliced through her like a blade. "I only proposed because it was easier than breaking it off," James said, his voice low but clear. "She's sweet, sure, but it's not like I'm in love. This marriage is just convenient." Laughter followed from his best man, a cruel echo that made Eleanor's stomach churn. "Convenient?" she whispered, her breath catching. The man she'd spent 3 years building a life with, the one who'd knelt before her with a ring and promises, had just reduced her to a transaction. Tears stung her eyes, but Eleanor didn't crumble. Not yet. She pressed her hands against the cool window pane, steadying herself as the world tilted. She could hear the guests arriving, their chatter a distant hum, oblivious to the storm brewing in her heart. She had 2 choices: walk away in silence or confront the betrayal head-on. Eleanor chose neither. Instead, she chose herself. She slipped out of the venue unnoticed, her veil abandoned on the floor. The small town's only dressmaker, Madame Clara, was a friend of her late mother's, known for crafting gowns that told stories. Eleanor burst into Clara's shop, her voice shaking but resolute. "I need a dress," she said. "Not for a wedding, but for me. Something that says I'm enough." Clara, with her wise eyes and steady hands, understood. They worked through the night, transforming a forgotten gown into a masterpiece: white silk interwoven with bold crimson threads, embroidered with delicate vines that symbolized resilience. It was a dress that didn't whisper love but roared strength. As dawn broke, Eleanor returned to the venue. The guests were seated, the organ humming softly, and James stood at the altar, oblivious to the reckoning approaching. Whispers rippled through the crowd as Eleanor stepped into view. Her dress caught the morning light, the crimson accents blazing like fire against the pristine white. Every eye was on her, every breath held. James's smile faltered, his face paling as she walked down the aisle, not to him, but past him, her chin high and her gaze unwavering. She stopped at the center of the aisle, the silence deafening. "This was supposed to be our day," she said, her voice steady, carrying to every corner of the room. "But I heard you, James. I heard the truth you hid behind your vows." Gasps punctuated the air. His best man shifted uncomfortably, but Eleanor didn't waver. "You thought I was convenient, disposable, but I am not your convenience. I am Eleanor, and I am enough." She turned to the guests, her dress shimmering with every movement. "I came here to marry a man I thought loved me. Instead, I'm choosing to marry myself, though my strength, my worth, my future." She paused, letting her words sink in. "This dress isn't for a bride. It's for a woman who knows she deserves more." With that, she walked out, the train of her gown trailing like a banner of triumph. The guests sat stunned, some in tears, others nodding in quiet admiration. James called after her, his voice desperate, but Eleanor didn't look back. She stepped into the sunlight, the weight of betrayal lifting with each step. The town would talk for years about the bride who walked away, not in defeat, but in victory, her dress a testament to her unbreakable spirit. In the days that followed, Eleanor rebuilt her life. She moved to a new city, started a small art gallery, and surrounded herself with people who saw her for who she was. The dress hung in her studio, a reminder that betrayal could wound, but it could also forge something stronger. She never heard from James again, and she didn't need to. Eleanor had found her own happily ever after, not in a man, but in the courage to choose herself. Years later, a young woman visited Eleanor's gallery, her eyes drawn to the dress displayed in a glass case. "What's the story behind this?" she asked. Eleanor smiled, her heart full. "It's the story of a woman who learned that her worth isn't defined by someone else's promises. It's the story of me." And in that moment, The dress glowed brighter than ever, a beacon for anyone who needed to remember, you are enough.